B1AG, I want the bag. Work my way from a garden to a track. Flip it from a track to a plot full of acres. Do it for the farmers and producers and the makers. What we even here for? Occasionally I ask it. I know it's more than struggling, anticipating the casket. Reap what we sow, I'm trying to fill up my basket. Life's a plantation, I self-law and master. Over the plot I've been granted on this planet. Now it's slanted, cause the chosen been supplanted. But if you overstand it, it was spoken. Fractured, but we ain't broken. Even though some would rather play the role of token, we growing. Black through the essence of a presence. We carry the blood of gods, we carry the mind of peasants. Rich black gardens, future look more like Eden. Multiply seeds like the seed banks in Sweden. Rep my planners on plan according to season. B1 code, switching it up is treason. Black power, family what we eat. Either we get fed or we feed. B1AG.
Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Welcome, Black. This is John Henry Harris. We also have Farmer Brown EMC, and this is B1AG, Daily Bread Podcast. I hope this Monday morning you're motivated to get through this week, be prosperous, move and operate from a point of love, and and let's continue to move forward and stay in a growth state of mind. Welcome back. Welcome, Black. Now here at B1AG, we focus on Black agriculture as it pertains to agriculture production, education, and marketing of food, health, nutrition, and economics, all for the B1 family and community. All right, y'all. Now here at B1AG, we focus on agriculture, and of course, we're talking about food, mostly food. And there's a thing that we've been talking about, as far as like 3D printed chicken nuggets and lab grown meats, and just discussing whether this is a good idea or not, or just is it a good idea, even if it's healthy. Well, in Israel, they have just opened up the world's first lab grown meat factory. And we're going to talk about that today. So here we go. We're going to dive deep today, as deep as we can, about the world's first lab-grown meat factory in Israel. Farmer Brown DMC, let's get started. Let's talk about it.
First, I'd just like to say peace to the B1 family. Hope everybody's doing well. If you're in one of these areas where we're having a heat wave, hope you're staying cool. So, bruh and I were talking before. I think we kind of look at some things differently, so we're going to hash that out a little bit. At the end of the day, when we have this B1AG conversation, at the end of the day, we would hope the viewers and whoever would share or come across this information would just think a little bit more intense on their food security, where they're getting their food from. Are they growing their own plants, raising their own chickens, so to speak? Even if you're not into meat, do you know where your plants are coming from? Do you know what the plants that are within your vegan or vegetarian diet are coming from? These are all very serious questions to have. We've talked about this synthetic meat now for a few months. And technically, this is relatively new technology when you're thinking about our food system. But it's one thing talking about maybe, what if, hey, man, down the road people are talking about, versus, okay, there's a factory open now. Putting it in an agricultural perspective, just for people to kind of understand why this is important. This is going to take away butchers. The butcher, butcher is historic, is ancient. This is the person that's going to, once you've hunted your deer, once you've slaughtered your livestock, your chickens, this person's going to cut it up, prepare it, package it for you, and get it to you. The people behind, at your grocery store where you go to, that's going to cut some jobs. When we're thinking about production, if we understand the melanated family, especially here in what we call North America, Turtle Island, their main agricultural product that's profitable is raising livestock. Same way in Africa. And so that's another piece of what we're going to talk about today is just what are the implications specifically on the melanated community, because this will affect all livestock producers and ranchers around the world. We really got to have some discussions about our diet because the world is changing and this lab grown meat factory is a flashpoint.
Yes. Now, just to kind of frame this conversation to bring in some context, at the end of the day, under a new law agreed, the world is trying to cut carbon emissions by at least 55% by 2030 compared to 1990 levels. Now, when it comes to livestock is responsible for 14.5% of global greenhouse gases. Like for example, like the world's largest cattle population is in India. And but in India, they view the cow, as a martyr. It is a religious symbol. So they also have the lowest beef consumption of any country. So as a result, the cows live longer and emit more methane over their lifetime. All right. Now, coming to America. Here in America, we are, especially out west, we're in the middle of a mega drought. So these cattle, the water levels are so low that real life decisions are needing to be made. Whether, okay, do we water these cattle, give these cattle something to drink, or do we grow vegetables and plants? Do we farm, or do we have this water for human consumption as far as drinking, bathing, and things of that nature? Like, it's getting down to cutthroat real life decisions when it comes to just water. That's really what it's water and carbon emissions. That's the focal points of what's going on right now. So as far as lab grown meat is concerned, this is a technology that's only been around since it first came about in 2013. So that's like 8 years. So for 8 years, 8 years ago, that's when they first successfully made the first lab grown burger. They made strides. There are a lot of different meat alternatives, plant-based alternatives. But me personally, I'm not gonna eat no doggone meat coming from a petri dish. I'm sorry. And this is where I think we agree, but we disagree at the same time. Farmer Brown, you gonna eat a lab grown burger?
If I had a choice, no, absolutely not. Now, practically speaking, just what I see, I mean, I'm still learning. If there's 10 things to know, I know maybe 1.5. We're coming to a rapid point where we're not going to have a choice in certain zip codes of what it is we eat. You mentioned the FDA. This is an agency that is in charge of quality controls. Even in a healthy diet, and so 0.00 some 3% of all of our food that we eat has rodent hair, feces, and other things that and insects, which we probably wouldn't be glad about if we understood what was in it. But in this situation, okay, you're looking at a growing population. Let's just be honest. To put it in perspective, I'm answering your question. This same land, what a wildebeest is in Africa, is what a cow was in Europe. Cows aren't native. The cows we eat, the Angus, the Hereford, Charolais, they're not native to what we call North America. At a time, there were millions and millions of buffalo, which is what your ruminant, multiple stomach livestock running across America. And so this dynamic of just having these ruminant animals eating and farting isn't new. It's when your diet, because I imagine our Aboriginal ancestors wasn't just eating 3 meals a day. I'm just going to eat meat three times a day, breakfast, lunch, dinner, maybe later when the Super Bowl comes around. So our meat consumption and our dependent, not just meat, but how our food is produced has become more dependent on systems. And outside of that, before there was a such thing as a dollar bill, it was just based on, okay, I need to eat enough iron, whatever it is I'm getting from this meat protein to get to the next day to build, take care of the family. Eating has become a part of our culture now. And it's not just a Western culture thing. Eating is a part of global culture. And so now you have a lot of human beings. It's 7.6 billion of us. I think there's 986 million that are food insecure. This is just, don't have food, aren't necessarily having discussions about whether I'm going to eat meat or not. They're discussing, am I going to eat anything? But you have billions of people on this planet now that are used to eating meat at a certain volume. It doesn't take a genius to understand that this system is now way more about money or making profit than actually producing a healthy product. We had this discussion about this concept of food fraud. The food fraud was basically, this was some farmers here in North America that, I'm selling all of these farmers this grain and I'm telling them it's organic, and it's not. And so I did this for 7 years. And so all the farmers that bought this grain from me and fed it to their cows, thinking it's organic, they went to the market saying, hey, I got the best organic Angus for you. And so in turn, your restaurant is selling these organic Angus burgers for exorbitant prices because they assumed that the farmers that had raised them on this feed was organic. That was based on money. We understand that food fraud is a $55 billion a year industry around the world. So saying that to say about your question, would I want to eat lab-grown meat? I really have to question. I'll say, as a prisoner of war, will we have a choice? Will we have a choice? Who are, we were talking about McDonald's and the automated drive-through. Who are you going to go argue at if you realize that the ground beef that you got at Walmart, Kroger, Sunflower, Publix, within your neighborhood, you read the label, because reading is very fundamental. You read the label and it says lab grown. Who you going to go run and tell? You got kids. I know little kids now, like they're not going to eat anything but chicken nuggets. You can give them all the good vegetables. You can prepare vegetables in all of these great ways. But you got a lot of parents who were discussing this earlier. It's like, well, my parents made me eat food, so I'm not going to do that to my kid. But we've created this culture of almost lack of food accountability. A lot of us, not all of us, are losing the reason why humans or any living thing eats, as well as we have a very spoiled concept of how much meat, the types of meat, the frequency of meat. And so this isn't being disparaging or condescending, more so than just looking at this in a broad framework. You're a company like this one in Israel that realized, okay, this world is addicted to meat. Same way a crackhead to crack, the world is addicted to meat. And hey, I got the means. I have a factory to supply this demand. It is experimental, like many things we see going on right now during the time of crisis. And so the minorities, we want you to try it first. And so this is why I say it's going to be a point where a lot of us aren't going to have a choice unless we're working with local producers or using the space we do still have to grow our own. So to answer your question, long story short, no, I wouldn't want to eat lab-grown meat. But if I'm to be very realistic, there's going to be some very rapid changes happening in the next 5-year family.
Now, the Israeli company, it's an Israeli biotech company, then they're called Future Meat. Now, they opened what is claimed to be the world's first industrial cultured meat factory. And this is considered to be a watershed moment in the development of futuristic meat alternative products. Now, the facility is capable of producing 1,100 pounds of lab-grown rather than plant-based meat products a day, or roughly the equivalent of 3,000 medium-sized hamburgers, and that's per day. Now, this kind of this talk, it just I remember like growing up, used to, you rank on each other, joke on each other. He's called test tube baby. And I was like, that was grounds for fighting. And now test tube steak, and that's supposed to be sound delicious to me. But what I would like to, just in case our audience is not familiar with exactly what is lab grown meat, I do have a video to show you that explains and breaks down exactly what is lab grown meat. And that way we can just, all make a better informed conclusion or decision when it comes to figuring out if this is something good for us and our families.
The meat of the future will likely be lab grown. Compared to our conventional methods of getting meat on the table, lab grown meat, which debuted in 2013, doesn't involve slaughtering of animals, nor does it require as many environmental resources. Compared to other livestock, raising cows require 28 times more land and 11 times more water. The World Wildlife Fund adds that beef production drives 25% of global land use and forestry emissions. And in the near future, lab-grown meat is going to be cheaper, faster, and more environmentally friendly to produce for our growing population. But how exactly does one grow meat in a lab? The process isn't as weird as you might think. Currently, the most successful method involves harvesting stem cells from cows. Stem cells are the building blocks of essentially everything, from muscles to organs, from which muscle tissue is harvested from the live animal in what is said to be a harmless, painless procedure. The tissue is made up of muscle and fat cells, which the scientists separate from one another. What we need are the muscles, which are then dissected and cultured. Cell culturing is where a cell is removed from a plant or animal and then put into a favorable artificial environment, usually some type of substrate that supplies essential nutrients like amino acids and carbohydrates to grow. All it takes is just one singular muscle stem cell to grow up to 1 trillion muscle cells. The newly grown muscle cells naturally merge together to form tiny myotubes, which are then placed in a ring. The muscle cell's tendency to contract frequently causes them to grow into a small strand of muscle tissue. The muscle tissue tubes are then layered together to form a hamburger shape. One muscle cell has the potential to turn into 1 trillion muscle tissue strands, which is a lot of burgers. The lab-grown hamburgers don't quite look like normal hamburgers and are much paler in color and blander in taste. But as scientists point out, that blander taste is a fair trade for an efficient way to create protein and feed the world's growing population. The price of lab-grown hamburgers has already dropped from $325,000 to just over $11 per patty. While it is still pricey compared to a Big Mac, which costs $4.79 on average, the price will likely drop in the future as production methods are streamlined, meaning that more likely than not, lab-grown meat will be on your dinner plate in the near future.
I don't want it, fam. And it don't taste good. I don't want it.
So where's the melanated family in these rooms saying, no, what if, hey, we don't? That's why I say answering your question earlier, it's going to come a point where we don't have any choice. The vegan and vegetarian option is viable, but let's look at it ecologically. And so if the world suddenly, we had, a third of the human population of 7.6 billion to say, you know what, we don't want meat anymore. We're just all going to eat vegan or vegetarian. You're now going to have a strain on the plant production, because plants need water too. They obviously don't need as much water as livestock, but think about the amount of land that right now we can't use it because it's been over-farmed, right? Think about these droughts. I would also encourage the family to really pay attention to what's going on in the West, because that's going to affect our produce next year in 2022. These are some serious discussions, man. It's I ain't gonna lie, it's sick. It's sick to there's a reason it doesn't taste right, because it's not natural. We think about these lab leak theories and other areas of human activity and all of the unintended consequences. But this is a real thing, family. This is a real thing. It's not conspiracy. It's not Illuminati. It's not the end of the world. This is the world we live in, because it's just known that we want to eat meat. You know, we want to go out on Friday night, Saturday night, whatever night. Some people 7 days a week and eat something that has meat. People that produce meat realize, okay, well, we can't keep destroying the ecosystem. You know, this livestock market isn't what it used to be. And so this is the alternative. It's either that or eat more vegetables and plants. With that, so think about, I was telling you this. I just learned this. And so when you're riding up and down the interstate, you see all of these fields of grain, all of this corn. If you look at the little stickers on it, or the little signs, it'll say not for human consumption. It'll be for livestock or for fuel. And this is hundreds of thousands of acres. We're just talking about North America right now. Do you not think, if we're talking about profit, that somebody would get the bright idea, well, you know, since we're not raising cows no more, I mean, technically it's the same material, you know, got different chemical makeup, might have added some GMOs, a little droplet here, droplet there. Do you not think somebody would say, okay, we'll just use this feed that was not food, feed that was originally used for livestock. We'll just use this with these plant-based meals, since everybody wants to be health conscious and get plant-based. And then you run into the same problems you have with the livestock, where they become resistant to antibiotics. It's why we need our young minds thinking these things out.
But if they have this corn that's that they said is only for feed, and they're feeding the cows this, we're eating the cows. We're still eating the same junk we're not supposed to eat for human consumption. See what I'm saying? Oh, the video said itself that the cattle, you know, raising cattle uses 11 times more water than conventional farm. Well, we already know with technology, with aeroponics and hydroponics, vertical gardening, that they're using 90% less water as compared using vertical farming and aeroponics than it takes with conventional farming. So if raising livestock uses 11 times more water than conventional farming, but vertical farming and aeroponics uses less space and uses 90% less water, that's a layup to me.
Let's look at the numbers. Keep it real. Timeline. There's billions of dollars behind this lab-grown meat, plant-based meat effort. It's a wave. Our wave of talking about aeroponics and hydroponics, and we're obviously not the only ones, the first ones, nowhere near the first trying to bring this up. This is something I know elders in their 60s right now that's been talking about this. And so we're looking at the mass, the wave, right? How long would it take for us to, and we're talking about the B1 family right now, you know, because other people are talking about their issues. They don't talk about them publicly. How long would it take us to convince a considerable amount of us? It doesn't take everybody. I was raised on the law of, if you can get 1/10 of a population to buy into something, then you can create effective change. We haven't reached that 1/10 of us yet that agree to, you know what, man, maybe some of us just need to start learning how to grow food. How long will it take for us to be able to match the energy of those that's like, here, we'll just make food in the lab? How many years? Because this is years. And we, you know, at the end of the day, not to be skies falling, we don't have that much time. This first factory opened. We just talked about McDonald's going automated. All of these things tie together. We know how horrible customer service can be, you know, trying to talk to a robot. And so what happens when, like I said, who are you going to argue at hey, this burger don't really look like a burger. What's wrong with it? What's the robot going to say?
Would you like to buy another?
Hurry up and buy. Eat or
I don't
die.
know.
Eat or die.
I just can't wrap my mind around eating something that comes from a petri dish. It's just not. I'm the grandson of a farmer, dog. You know what I'm saying? I grew up in the field. I literally grew up in the fields. My grandfather had cows. You know, I know what a good, healthy cow and the meat that it produces tastes like and looks like. I know that we as humans are forever flawed. We're built like we all we do is mess up. Just like how kids when they come and they just sometimes they just come through and it's just like a whirlwind came through the room. That never leaves. You know what I'm saying? That's what's going on in the world now. A bunch of grown kids whirlwinding through the world and messing everything up.
Think about this strategically, man. And this is, I know we have our issues with the elders, so to speak. But the beauty of an honest elder is I can tell you my successes, I can tell you my failures. And from that, whoever's younger than me is going to take that and try to do better or match it. When you get rid of a layer that knows what a real hamburger tastes like, when you get rid of a layer that knows what it means to produce something from the ground, when that layer is gone, literacy rates are ridiculous right now. I'm not saying, if you don't know how to read the colonizer's language, you're illiterate. I mean, just the ability to process words outside of Google telling a person what it is. When we as a group become so detached from understanding how this came about, and we're letting people confuse us, I'm talking about maybe not even a generation from now, they will see lab-grown meat as normal. What's wrong with this? They will see a robot giving them food because they never had grandmother to cook for them. Grandmother was twerking when they were growing up. You know what I'm saying? Granddad was out on the block, with the youngins.
Oh, man.
Rocking Jordans. Yeah, I'm being funny, but not. And I'm saying this to make a timeline. There's a timeline of, okay, if you have a group of people that don't know the difference, that don't know what a real chicken is supposed to look like or taste like, where's the fight going to come from? When I don't want to get into my tinfoil bag, but you think about, and this is just my opinion, I only speak for me, I'm not medical, but I thought it was very interesting with the experimental, therapies over the last year. One of the largest groups affected was the older people. We should never be putting in the motherland, the concept of a nursing home didn't exist, because just as a group, we understood, your elders are valuable. They're very imperfect, absolutely, but they're valuable. If for no other reason, hey, you can tell me what was going on before I got here, and so I can know what I'm dealing with. And so when that layer is gone, which happened to be the ones, this is affecting you worse. Let me, pump this air. Oh, oops, lost you. A lot of these little stories are creeping through if we're paying attention. And like I said, it's better to stay ready than to try to get ready. These are conversations we need to have. If you got some elders around you that know how to grow okra, know how to grow greens, talk to them. Hey, elder, I don't need you to tell me about religion. I don't need you to tell me about arbitrary things that none of us can prove. Show me how to do something to work for you. Show me how to can. Show me how to pre-prepare meals to where, when I come home, all I got to do is throw it in an oven, not a microwave. Using a microwave, for example. Oh, wow, this just came to me. There was a time that our elders, and there's people that live on the planet now, like when they were growing up, there was no such thing as a microwave. But the concept of, I can now speed up the process of how I heat my food up. That was cool, right? Now I can go about living my life doing what I want to do. But when we use a microwave, and I haven't used a microwave in years now, when we use a microwave, you're killing nutrients. And so it goes back to this point of, okay, why are you eating? I'm just eating up all this food. It's going to build this mass in my body. Like you said, if this burger I'm eating has been eating on chemicals that aren't supposed to go in the human body, that's accumulating. And this is where your cancers come from. This is where a lot of your sickness. Bro, you brought it up earlier. Yeah, when these animals are stressed, because suddenly I see this big, huge blade coming to get me, that's in the blood, and we are what we eat. I'm being funny, but not as this where we get this chicken shit mentality of approaching these very serious issues that are affecting our food security. Social issues, hey, I mean, that can be dealt with, but our food security, to me, it should be primary thing that we're discussing, because before we can embark in any other type of campaign of social justice, economic justice, the people who are running these food operations run our economies, y'all. And as we've had this conversation a few times now in B1AG, they own most of the land in North America. They pretty much fund your medical institutions. They fund your educational institutions. And it starts with food and natural resources. Are we having these conversations, family?
That's why it's very important that at least we're attempting to have this conversation now, because like the BET awards were just last night. I didn't watch, but I bet you there's more people that watch the BET awards than are thinking about, consuming healthier food, or I wonder where this came from. I just ate. I went and ordered this food. I wonder if this came out of a petri dish or not. We just consume and consume and consume and consume. Now this meat plant in Israel, they made the point to say that having a running industrial line accelerates key processes such as regulation and product development. The company claims culture meat generates 80% less greenhouse emissions, uses 99% less land, and consumes 96% less water than meat production. Now, with it producing less emissions, now it uses less land and uses less water, that's great. That's great. However, the end product, is it safe to eat? What are the long-term ramifications of eating this lab-grown meat? Are there any negative side effects? Will it be an increase in different types of cancers? Will it create different strands of bacteria in my body? There are a lot of unanswered questions.
I got an idea such an elaborate building will be run on computers, right? We're in the age of ransomware attacks. And so old school farmer that just raised my livestock on the field, okay, I got me a little stream, a man-made stream or pond to feed my livestock. Okay, I can't get to the store to get feed. I'm just going to rotate them to where, they can eat grass. They, run them on pasture. They're not going to be affected by a ransomware attack. And so now what you're saying is, okay, hey, I'm producing your food and we have all of these benefits, but all it takes is a couple of buttons. It takes a troll somewhere on a computer and I can shut this whole operation down. We saw during COVID how a lot of the meat processing plants were affected. Some of the workers had to stop equipment malfunctions. And so we see how very delicate our food system is. This, man, personally, I'm a believer. I'm a knower. I'm a part of the Most High. I'm an appendage. I'm a living, breathing appendage of the Most High, right? And this ain't natural. This ain't natural. And so I'll just put it on record. I don't support this as, hey, this is the best way to move forward. Personally, and I only speak for myself. I can only speak for myself. I would rather eat less, eat more nuts, eat more plants, grow more of what I eat, than to have to resort to this. Because once again, the same way we've over time become, many of us, not all, have become dependent on microwaves. If we look at this trend of everything that's natural about us is being now dependent on these unnatural processes, and you get this to this point of no return where either you eat it or you die. When we think about this 2050 where we're supposed to reach zero wealth, that means you ain't going to, according to that model, you're not going to have any economic power to tell me no. I'm flooding this country with people that's going to make your voter block irrelevant, for those that ascribe to voting as a means of solving our problems. We're not able to talk with each other. I mean, anybody that looks online, we see we have social issues where we're not able to communicate. We were laughing about this the other day. We got a lot of people to brag about. I don't know how to cook. I don't need to cook. I'll just order it. Oh, I can have a drone deliver my food. What if the drone says we're dealing with a social credit system? Oh, well, you're bad. You tweeted something I didn't like. And so you got a strike today. You can't get none of this lab-grown meat. What if? And these what ifs aren't conspiratorial no more. This is the world we're in now, family. The benefit is we still have people on this planet, older and younger, that know how to produce food. They know the concept of hunting and trapping. I was listening to a podcast the other day with Ted Nugent. I'm not necessarily, ascribed to his ideology about everything, but he was just very candidly, oh yeah, it's our culture. When the pandemic hit, we wasn't affected. The hunters I run with, we know how to hunt. Are we linking up with groups like Black Outdoorsmen online, just seeing, okay, where are the hunters and trappers at? And I'm not talking about the trap houses. I'm talking about the trappers that know how to catch food. Are we understanding this terminology to where if it comes across our timeline, we know what's being talked about? It doesn't just look like another ad where I just scroll past through.
I don't think so. I don't think we do, bro. To be totally honest, I just don't think it's registering with us. Because like if you think about, just like you said, with the microwaves and even with the lab grown meat, this is going to be machines. You know what I'm saying? It's like everything is going towards technology and machines to the point where it's becoming more and more disconnected from Mother Earth, more and more disconnected from the natural. And that's dangerous. And that's very, very dangerous in my opinion. I definitely agree. We definitely need to start, like we say it every time, man, going back to the basics, reclaiming our ancient knowledge, our God-given right to grow food. God gave us everything, the creator, whatever you call him. He gave us everything we need up under the sun to survive: land, air, and water. That's all those three basic things are pretty much all produces everything that we need to survive. And I'll be doggone if I give all that up to depend on a computer.
We've reached a point, family, where when we're thinking about compensatory logic, if I don't like this fake burger that you about to give me, then I have means to create an equal amount of real burgers. It's either or. I mean, you can argue with me all you want. You don't like the injustice I'm doing you. What are you prepared to do to stop me from exacting this injustice on you? All you're going to do is just argue about it. Okay, I'll just put earplugs in. Oh, you just want a holiday? That'll keep you shut up for a little bit. Matter of fact, this might be a windfall for all my companies that produce all these trinkets that y'all buy on this holiday I gave to you. But we're talking about food, family. I don't think anybody watching this right now in their right mind, its mouth is watering at the thought of lab-grown meat. And what I'm telling you is this isn't, I can't stress enough, this isn't fake news. Our channel isn't going to get doxxed or whatever the word is. Our channel isn't going to get struck for this because we're telling the truth. This is the absolute truth. The world's first lab-grown meat factory has opened in Israel. Israel, not what we think. It's open there. We know the West, there's a partnership in ideologies and culture, and especially economics and war. What do we talk about? Frederick Douglass, food can be a weapon of war. We understand. You said this started in 2013? For your average medical experiment, it takes about 8 years to experiment. Once they get this price level to where it's as cheap to produce this as it is to produce it normal, we're going to be the lab rats. When I say we, universal melanated family are going to be the lab rats. I'm not making, it's not Nostradamus here, like this is how the game goes. Because who's the group on the planet that got no choice? Who's the group on the planet that we pride ourselves in what we can consume and buy and shun, many of us, not all, we shun those that are trying to produce. This isn't a clout chase for B1AG. If we can convince 5 people to watch this podcast each have a conversation with 5 people themselves, that's what 20 some more people, 25 more people that have this conversation. At some point, everything isn't transactional. There's a point of, hey, you know, I got people in my family I care about, and I realize no matter what I can babble my mouth about, whatever I can read or research, I'm still a part of this community. You know, it's not in me to let me run since this community is in chaos and crisis. My thing is, what can be done? And we have to at least, for one, know what's going on, not just know what's going on. How do we contextualize it? And more than contextualize it, what action items do we take? We're in our finest hour when I say we still have people that know how to produce. We have innovators right now. They're not the people that's highly promoted on social media right now. We keep getting these celebrities that were going back and forth, further divide. No, he shouldn't have a dress. No, he should. Is this person wearing a dress or whatever we want to talk about in those angles going to feed us as a community to continue that discussion if that's important to you? But I think more important than anything, when we realize we're dealing with demographics whose birth rates are dropping, we're dealing with demographics who they have no food where they live. And so anything living is going to go where there is. They have been told that there's food across all borders. This isn't about disparaging any group, more so, okay, we're living people. One of the things about any living organism, you're going to go where the food is because you want to survive. Food is the main piece of survival, you know, outside of your relationship with the Most High, but even that's been distorted. And that turns into an area of contention. But let us not forget the first setting was a garden. The first trapper was a farmer. That was the first thing sold or traded was something to eat. What else, you know, before man knew they were naked, depending on what story you go by, you had to eat something still. I'd heard one brother, and I believe that there could be there may be some truth to it. I don't know, that there was a time humans didn't need to eat. We could get our nutrients from the sun. That is possible, but we consume something to keep us going. Just like a battery, you know, you want to charge your Tesla up, it takes some sort of energy to keep the machine going. These bodies we got are the best machines ever created on this planet. The fact that we can talk and build structures, I mean, ants do that, but we're a different type of creature. And so we found ourselves in what we call 2021, where we need food to survive. It's more optimal to have food that grows directly from the ground, that bleeds, that perspirates, that is fed and nourished from the same sun and water that we eat, seeing that we're 75% water. When we start stepping away from these natural dynamics, like bruh said, what are the unintended consequences or intended consequences? You think the 1% is eating lab-grown meat?
I don't. I really don't. But this is definitely, and it's going to be an ongoing discussion because it's here. Again, now that they have a full-blown factory, as the article stated, it just helps to speed up the processes as far as this meat. It accelerates key processes such as regulation as well as product development now that they have this factory built. So there's going to be a lot of changes. And we're already in a place where it's questionable what we're eating anyway. You know, if you look at Subway and their tuna fish, you know, they say it's tuna fish, they call it tuna fish, but then they do test on it. There's no tuna in it. So what is it really? You know, we're already in a questionable state when it comes to our food anyway. I wish I could just walk around with a sign all day. Grow your own food. Grow your own food. Grow your own food.
Real food matters. Real food
Real
matters.
food matters. Real food matters. And that's what we're going to continue to talk about here on B1AG. Real food matters. And there are a lot of social, economic, you know, a lot of different issues that revolve around our food production and our health as it comes to the food that we're eating. And we're going to continue to talk about it. And at the end of the day, we're always going to highlight the fact that this ancient knowledge of growing your own food is something that needs to be retained and passed on to the next generation. Because not only, real food does matter, access to this food matters, and having a secure access to this food is paramount, because you don't want to be in a position where food can be used as a weapon against you in warfare. As Frederick Douglass pointed out, this is real. And got to come up with our own solutions, family, because they know, like Michael Jackson said, they really don't care about us. They really don't. They care about the bottom line, and that's the dollar bill, which is losing value every second.
And survival of species and global dominance. I mean,
Yes. So, everybody, we hope that if you really want to know how to grow your own food, you go to healthyblackfood.com and sign up. We put together great programs, entertaining, it's engaging, and very enlightening about how to grow your own food. It's not as hard as you think. And we definitely help give some insight on how to do that. Healthyblackfood.com. Let's get black to the garden. Sign up. If you have any questions, concerns, or you just want to show what you're growing, letting us know what's growing on, you can contact us at B1AGHipHop@gmail.com. Do that. We answer back. We really answer you back, and we will be engaged with you. We try our best to share as much information as possible, as well as direct you to more resources. Let us do that for you. Let us do. If you're growing something, you have a question, we can answer it for you, and we're going to send you to someone who has more knowledge than us. We don't claim to know everything, but we do have access to a lot of resources, because this really is our passion, and we do care. We really do care. And Farmer Brown, at the end of the day, we can obtain knowledge all kind of ways. A lot of different ways you can obtain knowledge. But if you really want to know something, what do the people need to do?
meet me in the garden and learn how to grow something.
And not no lab-grown meat. Everybody, thank you for sitting in with us another episode of Daily Bread Podcast. Hey, please subscribe with us on YouTube at the B1AG Daily Bread Podcast. Subscribe, share. Let's get this conversation really going throughout our community. Let's get this conversation going throughout the world. Let's go ahead and get this conversation going, and let's just be more aware and conscious and make better decisions when it comes to our food. Hope y'all have a wonderful day. Be prosperous, be abundant. I really sending out good vibrations out to the West Coast. I know I hope y'all get some rain. We've been getting a lot of it here, and I hope y'all get some too. And we'll see you tomorrow or soon here at the Daily Bread Podcast. John Henry Harris, got Farmer Brian MC. We'll see you soon. Peace out.